Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another way too early predictions video. The team that we're going to be taking a look at today is our 2024 USC Trojans teams led by Lincoln Riley. We're going game by game, looking over every single game on the 2024 schedule, trying to see which games we think they're going to win, which games we think that they are going to lose, and we're also trying to predict that final record for the Trojans. Now, we're going over every single team this offseason, going over their schedules, trying to predict their final record, so go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. And once the regular season starts, we go over every game every week, the money lines, spreads, and their over-unders. And we also do the same thing for every NFL game every single week. So how about our 2024 USC Trojans? They obviously had not the season that they were anticipating last season. Obviously, Caleb Williams, the #1 draft pick, he's off to the NFL. They have Miller Moss coming in at the quarterback. He showed out his bowl game. He started one game last season, threw for 380 yards and 6 touchdowns. So we have a very small stipend of his product, but it looked really good. We know that offense is never going to be a problem with a Lincoln Riley team. The guy's been a head coach for 7 years. Each of those 7 seasons, he's had a top 8 offense. He's had 3 Heisman winners. They're going to have a top 10 offense this year. It is what it is. They also have Marks transferring over from Mississippi State at the running back position. He comes from an air raid system. He's going to fit in perfectly here. Very physical runner. USC has to rebuild the offensive line. They have to get more physical. They're moving over to the Big Ten. The Big Ten is a defensively led conference. They have a lot of powerhouse physical teams. Penn State, Michigan, Buckeyes, Oregon. Physical teams at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. USC has to adapt. Lincoln Riley did something he should have done years ago. He did fire Alex Grinch. The guy was a god-awful defensive coordinator. They're bringing in Lynn, who was the UCLA defensive coordinator. Took them from 87th to number 11 last season. Guy's a really good coordinator, but can he make the changes? Can the scheme fit quick enough for USC to adapt as they're moving from the Pac-12 into the Big Ten? Let's go ahead and get things started. Let's take a look at the schedule. And like I said, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. USC is kicking things off Sunday, September 1st, so the odd Sunday college football game for that first week. They're going to be playing LSU. This is going to be a ranked-on-ranked matchup. Both teams are kind of in very similar situations. They both have big-name head coaches. You have Brian Kelly. You have Lincoln Riley. This game is in Nevada. It's in Las Vegas, so it's in a neutral field, if you want to call it that. But Kelly, last season, they had the Heisman winner. They had a god-awful defense just like USC. US defense was a joke last season, so was LSU's. Both teams replaced their coordinator. You have Blake coming over coaching for LSU. You have Lynn coming over coaching for USC. So which one can get the scheme sunk into the team quickest is going to have the advantage here. Both teams are obviously known for their offense as of right now. You have LSU, who had the reigning Heisman winner, Daniels. He's off to the NFL. You had USC, who had the previous Heisman winner, Caleb Williams, off to the NFL. So they're both going to have first-year starting quarterbacks, Nussmeier versus Miller Moss. They're both going to score points. Miller Moss, we have a small stipend of him. We've seen a little more from Nussmeier because he's filled in a lot of games. The guy's been playing football for like 6 years. But this is potentially going to be a shootout. Both defenses are not going to be up to par. First year in a new system, it's going to take them a couple games to really hit the ground running. So which one's going to do it first? That's who's going to have the advantage this game. I'm going to give the edge to LSU. I think LSU will be the favorite. I'm not saying LSU's a better team than USC. It's just I think they have the better skill on defense. Scheme was a joke last season. They should be better. USC, their defense is going to be better this year because it can't get worse. It's just if they just have an average defense, the offense is going to carry them into the playoffs. That's how good Lincoln Riley is on the offensive side. And they still have Branch at wide receiver. The guy can do everything. Kickoffs, punts, great wideout. He's a magnificent weapon. But I have LSU winning a shootout here. A 37-34. USC starts out 0-1. Then Saturday, September 7th, they're playing the Utah State Aggies. This game is their first home game of the season in LA. This is going to be a beatdown here. Obviously, USC lost game 1. They're going to rally around Moss, rally around Lincoln Riley, and their offense is really going to get going. Look for their defense to play a little better this game. Utah State's not some world beater. They're not a very good team, and they're going to get the crap kicked out of them. Look for USC to rebound in a big way. They're going to win this game 52-21, and USC is 1-1. And then Saturday, September 14th, we have a bye week. For some reason, I don't really know why there's a bye week in your third week, but they have one. But that's fine, because the very next game is a very physical game. Saturday, September 21st, you have the Michigan Wolverines. This game is also going to be probably a ranked-on-ranked matchup. Look for Michigan to be in the top 10, potentially even top 5 at this point of the season. This is the real test. This is when you start getting into the physical Big Ten schedule. Every week, these coaches are going to have physical rosters that are going to beat you up at the line of scrimmage. That's what Michigan does. They beat up everyone they played. They beat up Alabama. They beat up Ohio State. Whoever they're playing, even if they're out-talented, they're going to be disciplined. They're going to be physical. Harbaugh's off to the NFL. J.J. McCarthy's off to the NFL. They only have one starter back on offense. That's the tight end. They have 4 starters back on defense, but they did have the number 1 defense last season. Their defense is very deep roster-wise. It's guys that have been there 3 or 4 seasons. They're very familiar with the scheme. Obviously, Sharon Moore is now the head coach, but Michigan's going to be disciplined. We don't know how much they're going to miss the players that are off to the NFL, but I think they're still going to have a top 5 defense this year. At worst, a top 10 defense. That's going to work wonders in these games versus offensively focused, spread them out teams. I have Michigan winning here. This game is going to be in Ann Arbor in the Big House. I have them winning a physical matchup with USC. This game is going to be a 30-24 game, and USC is 1-2. Sitting at 1-2, people are starting to get mad. They're starting to say that Lincoln Riley's not the guy. Some people might be calling for his head, but just slow down. First-year quarterback. Let's see how they finish the year. Saturday, September 28th, Wisconsin Badgers. This game is also in L.A. Wisconsin, this is a Luke Fickell team. This is Phil Longo at the offensive coordinator. You have Tyler Van Dyke, who just transferred over as the quarterback from Miami. Wisconsin had a pretty good defense last season. They always have a very physical, tough, sound defense. They get after the quarterback. They shut down the run game. Their offense, that was the issue last year. What can Tyler Van Dyke do? He hasn't been named the starter. Potentially the backup could also be named the starter. But I have USC getting a rebound here. But this is a potential upset. I have this game as an upset alert. Wisconsin is more than capable of beating USC if their defense plays really well. But I have USC responding to that loss versus Michigan, beating Wisconsin in a close one, 28-24. USC is 2-2. They follow that up Saturday, October 5th at the Minnesota Golden Gophers. This game is in Minnesota. So PJ Fleck, sometimes they have a very competitive team. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have a physical run game. Sometimes their defense plays really well. And then the next season, not so much. This is probably like a 6-6, 7-win team. Look for USC to continue their hot streak, to beat Minnesota on the road, and to handle them pretty sound. I have them winning this one 30-20, and they're 3-2. And then Saturday, October 12th, another really physical matchup. Penn State, Nittany Lions. This is Penn State traveling all the way across the country to California. It's a complete joke, but that's the way the conference is made up now. It's literally coast to coast. So Penn State goes from the east all the way out to the west. This is almost like an old-time Rose Bowl matchup. Penn State's going to be one of those really physical teams. Obviously, Manny Diaz, who was the defensive coordinator, led the number 3 defense, the number 1 total yardage defense from last season. He's now the head coach at Duke. But you still have James Franklin there. They have a new offensive coordinator spreading the ball out. They were only averaging 6.5 yards per pass last season. That's an abomination. They should be a lot better. Drew Allar's still there. They have one of the deepest running back rooms in the country, and they're still going to have a really good, sound defense. I think they're going to beat USC on the road. I think the game's going to be close. I think it's going to be somewhat low scoring, like a 28-27 game. Maybe a missed field goal is what decides it, and USC loses this game. But I could easily see it going the other way also. Why? Whenever you have Lincoln Riley and his offensive genius and the playmakers he's going to have on the field, there's always a chance that they just go off. So this game I'm almost 50-50 on, but I have Penn State winning 28-27. And then Saturday, October 19th, the Maryland Terrapins. Again, USC is going to take the revenge out on Maryland. Tua Vailoa, the quarterback, he's gone. He was a quarterback there for like 10 years. He's gone. Loxley, they're not really good on any side of the ball. USC is going to beat them pretty soundly, about a 48-24 game. USC's 3-3. Then Friday, October 25th, Rutgers Scarlet Knights. This game is also in LA. USC is going to continue their hot hand. They're going to beat up the Rutgers. They're going to beat them soundly. I have them winning this, although Rutgers sometimes has a pretty decent defense. I have them winning this game 34-21. So that puts them at what, 5-3? And then after that, Saturday, November 2nd, we have at the Washington Huskies. This would have been a really fun game if it was last year's teams, if it was Caleb Williams versus Penix. But USC, Williams is off to the NFL. Washington was completely raided this offseason. They had guys transfer. They had a lot of their team go to the NFL draft. They had Odunze go. They had Penix go. Both those guys top 15 picks. Coach, he's gone. He's off to Alabama. Deboer, they're bringing in Fish from Arizona. Completely retooled team. They have Will Rogers transferring from the air raid in Mississippi State with Mike Leach over here to Washington. Completely new team, completely rated. USC is going to continue their hot hand. Although this game could be a shootout. I have it being a shootout, but USC winning this one. It's going to be a 42-30 game, and USC is now 6-3. And then they have a bye week Saturday, November 9th. A well-deserved bye week because they've gone through some physical matchup. This team is going to be hurt, banged up, a couple injuries stacked up at this point. They need the bye week. And then Saturday, November 16th, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is a tough one. So this is Nebraska coming to LA. Nebraska, Matt Rule. They have a 5-star quarterback coming in. Last year, they lost 5 games, 1-possession games. They were that close to being a potential 9 or 10 win team. They did have a top 20 defense. Their offense was bottom 30 last season. If their offense was just number 60, this was a 10 or 11 win team last year. Their defense is going to be really good this season. Really tough, really physical. The offense should be better. So this is also one of those games to me you got to watch because Nebraska could easily sneak up on you and beat you. But I have USC getting the win here. I think they're going to be at home. Their offense is going to be clicking. Their defense will not be able to match Nebraska's at all. But as I already said, they're going to be much improved over last season. Look for USC to beat Nebraska in LA. I have them winning this one 30-24. And USC is now 7-3. And then after that, Saturday, November 23rd at UCLA Bruins, Pasadena, California. Obviously, this is an old rivalry. Chip Kelly's gone from the Bruins. Lynn, who was the coordinator, is now the coordinator at USC. This team completely wrecked. All of their quarterbacks went to the portal, except for one guy, but they were kind of juggling quarterbacks last season. This game's not going to be close. I have it being a beatdown. USC wants to finish the season on a strong note. They're going to beat up UCLA. I have them winning this one 50-27, and they're now 8-3. Saturday, November 30th, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish come to LA. This is always a really fun game when these teams match up. Obviously, Notre Dame has playoff aspirations this year. You know, a lot of people have them finishing 10-2 or 11-1. They have Riley Leonard coming in at the quarterback position. They're going to have a top 10 defense, a very physical defense, potentially, you know, one of the better defenses that USC has played this year. Just nonstop top 15 physical teams that they're having to go through. This is a really tough schedule, but welcome to the Big Ten, and you don't have anywhere to hide because you're at a conference game is LSU, who's another ranked team, so they really have to go through the juggernaut this offseason. I have them losing to the Fighting Irish here. Fighting Irish, they don't have a conference game. If they're at this point, let's say 10-1, they don't get to finish the season with a conference game in order to impress for the playoffs. So whatever their last game is, they have to win it in order to leave a positive taste in the mouth of the committee picking that final 12. Because, like I said, no conference championship. So this is it. This is your conference championship. I have Notre Dame beating USC in USC's house, winning a potential tough one, 34-28. And USC finishes the regular season 8-4. Vegas has USC at 7.5 wins. They have them either finishing the season 7-5 or 8-4. But somewhere in that vicinity, I'm going to go with 8-4. Welcome to the Big Ten. Not good enough to make the playoffs, not good enough to compete for the Big Ten championship, but the Big Ten's going to have some tough teams this season. A lot of ranked teams. I don't think 8-4 is a bad freshman year for the Big Ten, considering that they lost their Heisman winner last season and they're in a new scheme on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's enough to kind of take some pressure off of the haters of Lincoln Riley, but they better not go 8-4 again next season. Next season has to be 9-3, 10-2, again competing for the Big Ten championship. So that's my breakdown of our 2024 USC Trojans. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I'll make sure to respond. Thanks.